Hi, my name is Julie. I was born into the Christian Science church and religion. After 40 years, I went my own way. And that, I believe, brought me back to a clearer understanding of Mary Baker Eddy's original teachings. Today is June 3rd, 2025. I think, what I've been thinking about lately is all of the things that I used to think Christian Science was. And what I found out it really was. And it really was something special. It really is mind-blowing. Here we are, these spiritual beings. And part of us, a piece of us fell into a belief that we are the holographic image. Like we project our thoughts in consciousness, we see them. Everything you see as matter is really our thoughts. We're seeing our thoughts, lucky us. I think it's something that we just don't realize how fortunate we are that we, as spiritual beings in the level of thinking we are right now, that we get to see our thoughts. But what happened is we got confused at some point and thought that what we were seeing was our identity. The one in the video that you're looking at, thinking that's my identity. I am this human form. I am this body, and matter is substantial. And so things can happen to this body. It can be ill. It can, be hurt. It can die. All the other bodies around me and all the things around us are substantial in and of themselves. We fell into a trap. We tricked ourselves. And at some point in eternity, because we are each internal beings, we are an eternal being, period. So this is not our first rodeo, which is, I used to think, I had no, to be an eternal being, to have no beginning and no ending. It didn't hit me how, that means I've been around forever, for millennia. You can't even put a label on how long we've been around. But at some point, we fell into this belief that this was who we were, the body instead of the soul. And what we did is we got trapped there, and we gave that soul an identity, not the soul, the body, an identity. And we called it us. We called it me. That's me. That's who I am. And now we're mesmerized. We're stuck there, and we need to get out. And Mary Baker Eddy learned all this and was able to get out herself. And she taught others to do the same, and the method that she taught was self-examination. Examine yourself and see how much sin claims of you and how much of this claim you admit as valid and comply with. That's from Miscellaneous writings, from an address she gave at the first service in the second mother church, the bigger one that surrounds the little, or it was added on to the little one. But she says it all over. Once you realize that she's talking about examining your thoughts, seeing, she says it everywhere, seeing the quantity and quality, seeing what they consist of. Are they mortal? Are they spiritual? Once you kind of get this change in perspective on Christian Science, you see everywhere what she was trying to say. So it's like this life, it's like, she's like, hey, hold on. We're really confused and lost, and here's why. And let's get out. You have to get out of it through asking your higher self, your true nature, God, as we call it, where you're thinking that the mortal world is your reality and that it's your identity, and then let that go. And It's like, whoa, mind-blowing, simple, life-changing. People that or around her were experiencing healing because of the power of her ability to do this, to see clearly who we really are and who they really were. And their ability then to accept that truth in some degree was what healed them. But that's not what I learned growing up in the Christian Science church and religion, and probably most didn't. I learned we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't have premarital sex, we don't go to doctors, we don't take medicine. We carry our books with us on vacation. We read the lesson. We mark our books every Sunday. We go to church every Sunday. Our family didn't go to Wednesday services very often. Take class at some point when you're ready. And you're supposed to be healing. Like, you're just supposed to be healing everything and not going to doctors. And that's the extent of what I learned about this life-changing thing. This life-changing discovery of Mary Baker Eddy. That's what I learned growing up in the church and the religion. And that is a reason why that's what we learned. Because that mortal self, that identity we gave ourselves, that we thought, that we fell into, it has some momentum going. It is, you could say, we believe that's who we are. And so we've given it the weight of our, as soul, as spirit. We are immortal, infinite, all the 7 synonyms apply to us and always were meant to apply to us. Mrs. Eddy had to call it God, and God is a great word to define reality. I think the word God defines the essence of reality. And the essence of reality is oneness. It is the I am, our I am, my mind, my life. It's, say it to yourself, it's a definition of who you are, because there aren't two. There's not God and us. There's one. And Joel Goldsmith, a teacher who left the church and did his own thing called The Infinite Way. He talked way too much about healing, but he always said God is nearer than hands and feet, closer than, he was always trying to say closer than your hands and your feet and your fingers, God is. And he was trying to get people to understand, well, what can be closer than hands and feet? What it can be nearer. But I couldn't let myself believe that. I remember growing up in the church, that would not be something I could let myself believe, that the word God was meant to define us, our essence, who we really are, when we were ready for it, when we were ready to understand that. So this wonderful truth that Jesus taught and that Mrs. Eddy taught is being lost again. Since when she passed away in 1910, it's been lost since then, because this mortal mind has momentum in thinking it's a separate identity, and it doesn't want to give that up. It is afraid of dying. It is afraid of its end. It is us afraid that this is all there is to us, that this body, that this life, that our job, our family, that's all there is to us. And it's not all there is to us. But it is fighting for its life, and it saw Mary Baker Eddy's teachings as it's the means to its end. And it didn't want that. And so it went and skipped ahead and said, okay, everybody likes healings. Everybody wants to be healed. let's concentrate the movement on healings and how to get healed and how to give treatments. I mean, that's what you learn in class. That's what I learned in class, like how to give treatments, and then the 7 synonyms, how God is these things and you are that reflection. It felt really comfortable in that, because that's like 2/3 of Christian Science. In her article, in that address that she gives in 1895 in Miscellaneous Writings, she gives like how to demonstrate 3 cardinal points on page 107. 3 cardinal points must be gained before poor humanity is regenerated and Christian Science is demonstrated. 1, a proper sense of sin. 2, repentance. And 3, the understanding of good. The understanding of good is what the church and the religion has been teaching since 1910. And that's, all the good things about God. And so therefore all the good things about you. And that you aren't ill. And you can't be bad. And you can't be all these things. And heal. Call a practitioner and let's heal everything and heal the world. And that's 1/3 of Christian Science. But a proper sense of sin and a repentance are 2/3. The other 2/3 of that was what mortal mind feared most, because it was how to come out of ourselves as mortals, this belief that we're mortals, into the understanding of us being the immortal. And that's what she describes in this article, the process of coming out. And it's this process in order: proper sense of sin, then repentance, then an understanding of good, in that order. And then she goes through how to do that. Self-examination is the first step, and then repentance is letting that go when it comes up. She couldn't have been more clear, especially on a day that was supposed to be this big celebration of a new, big, mortal, massive, material church, and the importance of, this church in the world, and how proud everyone was of it. That was a really, supposed to be this day of celebration. And here she's like reminding them, you know what we're here for, don't you? And we're still getting that reminder today. You know what we're here for, don't you? Because all the healings that we were going for, and that I was going for, is the healing our lives so our lives can be better and happier. And, people, everything is to make us happier, to make us better, to have these great lives with plenty of money for retirement and never ill. And when all of that is part of the delusion, it's the delusional life. That isn't our life. That's not who we are. Wake up. Wake up. And that's really what Mrs. Eddy was trying to say. Wake up. Wake up. We're not trying to mend our lives into these perfect human lives. We're trying to transcend the human life completely. But she only could teach what they would accept at the time. She had a few of her close students that she did teach these higher truths to. And they, for some time, were able to hold that in understanding, but they were not able to impart it to their students as in a way that Mrs. Eddy could impart it to her students. And so we've, ever since 1910, when she couldn't be there to keep reminding us, wait, this is what it's all about. Let's go back to square one again, because we're going off, because the mortal self is going off. Well, let's do this, and let's heal that, and let's build this church, and let's, we got to get more members, and we got to, we didn't have anyone to do that for us anymore, and to mentally hold a position of understanding. And so it was up to us since 1910. And we have just tried everything we can to heal and to stay focused on a perfect human life and what it takes to get a perfect human life. And all the things that we learned all the do's and the don'ts and all the fears of going to doctors. You know, even my teacher said, if you don't go to a doctor or don't take medicine, then you're safe. But basically he was telling us, you know, if you veer off and you take medicine or go to a doctor, you're not safe. Something could happen to you. And he, I think, truly believed that. And people truly believe it. Like, I've asked so many of my friends and family members who are Christian Scientists, like, can you tell me your reasoning for not going to a doctor, like right now that you, whatever you have or whatever you're dealing with, or, and they all just look at you like, well, you're like, no, tell me, verbalize to me why you believe that you shouldn't go to a doctor and that you're not going to go to a doctor. And I don't ever get answers. Like, people do not know how to answer that question in the Christian Science church and religion. They just are like, well, you get it. No, I don't get it. Say I get it. Still, tell me, define it for me. Clue me in a little on but the problem is that they don't know anymore. We as a movement don't know anymore. Will it delay our progress? Maybe someone would say, well, it'll delay my progress, spirit word. Is that true? Is it true? Like, are you doing the self-examination every day that Mrs. Eddy said to do? Are you pulling the weeds in thought every day? Are you realizing you're a spiritual being and that this mass of mortal existence is unreal? And every day, do you realize that? And then you think that going to a doctor is going to stop that from happening? Like, are you doing that in the first place? Well, no. I mean, most Christian Scientists, they are repelled at the word self-examination, even though Mrs. Eddy uses it, at a knowledge of oneself, self-examination, examine yourself. There is so many ways that she puts this. But when you say it, they're like, oh no. I mean, my dad flat out, when he was ill, refused. He said, why am I not being healed? Like, why? I was a practitioner at the time. I had a short stint as a journalistic practitioner, and then as a non-journalistic practitioner. And he would ask me, why am I not being healed? I said, well, do you examine your thinking to see what you're thinking about? Is it, because are you thinking you're the mortal? And like, is your thinking a daily life about how to make money, take care of the family, save for retirement, keep the house in order? Like, is your daily thought anything other than what needs to be done in this mortal existence to get by? And no, I don't, because I don't need to think about those things. That's not Christian Science, is what he would say. That's not Christian Science, okay? If I don't need to handle and heal all these things to have one healing in Christian Science. But he hadn't had a healing for, 50 years. And he was like very ill, according to mortal sense. He had heart failure. So the Christian Science thought, the groupthink, the echo chamber, is that we're just supposed to be able to be healed, and all healing is instantaneous. And if we're not being healed, we're doing something wrong. We're thinking something wrong. We're believing too much in the illness. But it's all on a totally different planet with what Mrs. Eddy was teaching. It's just they're going after the mortal thinking. Well, I realized that I wasn't believing I was a spiritual being, but I am a spiritual being. So okay, great. Then you know, but what should I know, about the specific, illness, or what do you think I should know about it? Or, just saying. And I think we've all been there, and a lot of us are still there. And the problem is that Mrs. Eddy's not here saying, wake up, wake up. Okay, we're off track. It's about healing sin. You know, the purpose of Christian Science, right? She's not here, but her books are here, thank goodness. And in Rudimental Divine Science, is healing the sick the whole of science? Someone asked her that, and she put what is she saying? Healing physical sickness is the smallest part of Christian Science. It is only the bugle call to thought and action. In the higher range of infinite goodness, the emphatic purpose of Christian Science is the healing of sin. Rudimental Divine Science, page 2, 22 to 27. The emphatic purpose of Christian Science is the healing of sin. And that's what that article says. To demonstrate Christian Science, you have to have a proper sense of sin, because how are you going to heal sin if you don't have a proper sense of it? Then repentance, let it go, and then understanding of good. That comes, and that's all the synonyms, and that's all the truths about who we know we are when they say know the truth. Well, that's it, the understanding of good. But where did we not see this? I mean, I certainly didn't see it until a friend pointed it out. And then it took me a long time after that to really become humble enough to recognize that, okay, and to start asking God, soul, show me where I'm believing in this two-ness, this false sense of existence as a mortal, that unbelieving mortality is my existence, my home, my life, my identity. And then it took a while for me to start, hearing and being willing, when I heard something, to be willing to be like, oh, I went through many years of having soul uncover for me all the areas, and still every day it's a daily process, and we cannot stop that process while we still see mortality as some kind of reality, and that'll be this entire existence here, this entire dream state. And but I had resentments. I had people I resented from childhood, from high school, from college, from each job. I had people that resented me, and that actually had to come up, and I had to let go, and I had to, it had to be shown to me that they resented me, and that it was not my fault and not my problem. But it came to me who I resented and why. My fears, my worries, my anxieties, what I thought was right, what I thought was the way to live your life, what I thought was the way to be a Christian Scientist, what I thought the way to be a mother, a person, an accountant, any place where I identified myself as this mortal, material, human self in the mirror, in the video. It was uncovered to me, not through my own uncovering. I didn't come up with lists. I didn't write lists of these are all my bad qualities and these are the things I'm going to have to get over. And because it's not about that. I mean, that's going the other way. It is not about that. It is, we're all trapped in this mortal existence in an infinite number of ways. And each of us are rolled into it like a ball of yarn or an onion with a million layers. And only God, soul, our soul, us, our divine self, knows how to get us out of it. And so the only thing we can do is listen to that voice and follow it. And that's why there's so much listening that Mrs. Eddy talks to. I will listen for thy voice, lest my footsteps stray. I mean, that's a hymn that we sang every other Sunday, or, because we sang a Mary Baker Eddy hit every Sunday. So like these Mary Baker Eddy hymns are so important because she was trying to, the stuff that was most important to keep it clearest in our thought. The scientific statement of being is the key. And that we said every day, every Sunday was, we recited it either in Sunday school or in church. The thing is in the Christian Science church and religion, there's an echo chamber of there was an echo chamber, and there still is, of what it is to be a Christian Scientist and what Christian Science, the reason for Christian Science existing is. And pretty much most of it or all of it revolves around healing and not going to doctors and not taking medicine. And none of that is important. In fact, it's not important at all if you're doing the self-examination work on a daily basis and in the beginnings, you're going to stumble and you're going to fall and you're going to be wondering, why am I not hearing what I need to be hearing and why? But that's part of the process. It's part of it. You're coming into alignment, and just your willingness, your humility, your openness to listening and to thinking, okay, I'm going to be watching and listening for things that I need to hear. In the beginning, that's the most important thing. If we're doing that every day, and we honestly want to do that every day, then the other stuff doesn't matter, and it'll fall away if it needs to fall away. If you drink and you drink so much that it's affecting your life, it'll probably fall away sooner than any other way. But if you have a beer or a drink occasionally and it doesn't affect your life and it doesn't affect your family, and it's not something that you're running to because you have low self-esteem or anxiety or whatever, then it may not fall away because it's not relevant. It's not important. Those stuff is just so many things trying to get our attention and trying to keep us off track from the true point of Christian Science. And that's why when you ask a Christian Scientist, why don't you drink caffeine? If you do, like our family, we ignored that one because my parents loved Pepsi and Coke. And so we said, oh, we're going to give that one a pass. But, but why, why don't you drink? Why don't you smoke? Why don't you have premarital sex? Or why don't you go to that doctor? Why didn't you get your vision checked? Why haven't you had your hearing checks? Why haven't you been to the dentist? Why aren't you, doing something about that's been around for like a year or two? And why aren't you doing anything about that? Ask yourself these questions and expect an answer that somehow explains to you what your thinking is and why you believe in what you believe. Christian Science is an individual relationship to God, to soul, to all that is. It's not a group think thing. It's not a group thing where we all have to get there together, or like this person's going to tell me the way and that person's going to tell me the way, and then we're going to follow that person, and I'm going to call this person for help, and then that person for help, and then I'm going to go see this teacher, and they're going to God can do it all. And Mrs. Eddy's books and a willingness to listen to God, that's all you need. Just that willingness, and the willingness to think, maybe I've gotten it wrong. Maybe we all got it wrong. And maybe we're just 900 miles the wrong way on this 1/3 of Christian Science. The 1/3, the way that comes when you've successfully done the first 2/3. It just comes as a result of it. We don't have to work so hard on it. We don't sit there studying the synonyms or have a science and health where we've highlighted, this is my soul science and health, and I've highlighted soul every time it appears in this science and health. We don't have to do that. I mean, if you're led to do that, good. You got to follow what God tells you to do, what your mind, your divine mind tells you to do. Your true self. Let's call it you. But currently you think you are the body. So that's why we don't say you are God. That's why we don't say it, I am God. Because The body is not God. And currently we're stuck in the belief that we are the body. We are not yet ascended to the point where we know we are the soul. And yet that's what's coming if we follow Mrs. Eddy's writings and we do what she says. I mean, when I read Science to Health, since I was a kid, until someone pointed this out to me, which was in my 40s, I only read it for healing. And I only read it for like things I need to know to do better, to be better. But anything about sin, I just skipped over because I just, sin. Anything, I just skip it over because I thought, well, that's about, you know, the murderers and the thieves and the bad people. I mean, I skipped over like the whole book pretty much, since she says the emphatic purpose of Christian Science is the healing of sin. So I'm skipping over the emphatic purpose of Christian Science, going for like the, you know, the signs and wonders. Jesus said, without signs and wonders, ye will not believe. And that Mrs. Eddy felt the same way, said as much. And we are stuck in the signs and wonders, wanting the signs and wonders. And we don't realize that what it takes to get there is far different than we thought. And far more effective and far more powerful. I mean, the healings start happening all around you. And they're healings of out of alignments. You don't know how out of line you are with truth until you start having these healings. And then basically you feel weights taken off of you, chains taken off of you. Your life starts to be different. Your life changes. Some people leave your life never to return. Other come in. You're led to different jobs that give you different experiences that help you wake up. You're led to different books and different movies and different activities, and you are led to leave behind certain things, and your tastes start changing, and your motives start changing, and your thoughts start changing. And I mean, it is the real deal. Real healing, and it feels so good. It is life-changing, and it's nothing compared to the physical healing you think you want. You think that's so important, and yet it will come. You will start to see physical healing, but it will come at the right time, in the right way, according to Divine Mind's plan. Because sometimes the suffering we go through is the call to wake up. And a lot of us, it's either suffering or science, she says. And a lot of us aren't going to go to this extent through science. So we go through it by suffering because we've gotten so out of alignment with the truth we're suffering. And some of us are so far out of alignment that it's going to take some adjustments over time and a big willingness and humility to maybe to get to the point where we're going to have some of the healings that that maybe would have come if we had known earlier, if we had understood this earlier. And yet they will still come, but temporary means might be necessary. Temporary means are a non-issue. If you make it an issue, then you're believing in the mortal dream. You're believing medicine is either good or bad. Doctors are either good or bad. You know, hospitals, good or bad. Are they? They're bad. No. That's the mortal illusion. You're taking a stance on the mortal illusion, whether it's good or bad, right or wrong, this or that, blah, blah, blah. It's all the mortal illusion. We eat. We sleep. We wear clothes. We build houses. We save for retirement. Some of us do. I don't, but that's because that's where I am and been led to do, and that might change. I might be led to change that. Everybody's led in different ways. We're not all the same, and we're not all stuck in the dream the same way. So we can't even look to each other and say, oh, that's the way they're doing it. I should do it that way. Oh, they're doing it. Oh, no. It's an individual journey between us and God, bringing our thought back into alignment. Yes, we've never been out of alignment. We've always been soul, spiritual being. But we think we are something else. And so it is an out of alignment in belief that has to be healed in belief. Once you've gotten there, you can't just will yourselves back by saying, I'm not out of alignment. I am perfect now. I'm soul now. Because you haven't followed what Mrs. Eddy said to follow. You're just skipping ahead. Is that what you want to do? Everyone wants to skip ahead and skip to the good stuff. But Christian Science isn't about skipping ahead and skipping to the good stuff, because truly the good stuff is in this uncovering of bit by bit of every little piece of error in your thinking. And it's all about, I am the mortal. I think I'm the mortal. I think I'm the human. I think I'm a sister. I'm a mother. I'm a brother. I'm an accountant. I'm a chef. I am a Christian. I'm a Christian Scientist. You know, I am white. I am black. I am a female, a male, a bisexual, a homosexual. None of those are problematic, but there are all labels that define us as mortals. As immortals, we are eternal, infinite souls, and we are all one, and we are everything. You know, we're not any certain gender or any certain race or any certain sexual orientation or any certain color. No, those are all terms that define the mortal or the human, and we aren't any of that. But we don't just get out of it by saying, oh, I'm the immortal. No, why am I not having my healing? Have you tried self-examination? No, that's not Christian Science. Okay. So, much of what has come up for me in my time practicing self-examination has been my beliefs about what it means, what Christian Science is, and what it means to be a Christian Scientist. That's even to define ourselves as Christian Scientists is even a label that we would give to a mortal. But we are an immortal soul. We are immortal soul, the one immortal soul. But most of my errors were, I had them everywhere, but my beliefs about Christian Science, my beliefs about what it was, about, what a church meant or going to church meant, our edifice, my edifice complex. What I thought Mrs. Eddy wanted us to do. I thought she wanted us to be these perfect mortals who clean, kept a really clean house, and everything was perfect, and she was always like the perfect individual, like never doing anything wrong. Hi, how are you? Oh, I love you so much. My teacher, there was another teacher that had passed, and nobody, the church had been against her, and but I love her so much. And that was the way that's the way that, we learn in Christian Science to we love you so much. And nothing behind that, not divine love behind that, but like this sense of, if I say that and if I feel love for you, then I'm not being a bad person or a bad Christian Scientist. And we don't know how crazy things have gotten in our minds, and that we think, a certain way of talking, like the Christian Science lilt, and you're God's perfect child, we call the practitioner, and dear, what can I help you with? And the teacher, and what we're supposed to learn in class. I never questioned what we're supposed to learn in class until I looked at Mary Baker Eddy's original class notes, and I was like, wow. And then I looked at the manual and just rudimental divine science, nothing else. Oh my God, I learned my class notes were 90 pages. My citations that I had to read was 400 pages. That's far more than rudimental design science. My teacher basically rewrote Science and Health in a different format. and then had us read it through citations. And then everything in there was, read my article from the journal on this subject, my article from the Sentinel on this subject. But rudimental design science was, recapitulation. That's the chapter you're supposed to learn in class, Recapitulation is not that long and is not that. So I never even questioned what we were supposed to learn in class. I didn't question, what we were supposed to, calling practitioners. We called them all the time. And then some people would say, oh, you're not supposed to call them all the time. You're supposed to try and do it yourself first. And okay, so, you try and then you're not getting help and then you call them and you're not, and there's just all these things and not taking medicine, colds. I've had colds until this came clear to me. Anytime I got a cold, I had colds for weeks and months. My colds never went away. And I'd be, reading my books and trying to figure out what what is the treatment I need here. Just relying on the human mind to okay, what am I going to say? I'm going to sandwich it. I am a spiritual idea of God and there's no element of error, let me change it up this time. And, I never asked myself, is this really making sense to me what I'm doing? And I can't take over the counter medications, which I'd go to work and have a cold for a month or two, coughing and sneezing, and everyone else is had their cold for a day and they took something to mask the symptoms. I didn't ever think, well, no, because I just thought, well, I'm a Christian Scientist. This is what we do. Why didn't you go to the doctor? I'm a Christian Scientist. Why didn't you get some help? I'm a Christian Scientist. I never, and then people get up in church and Wednesday services and they are so proud that they've been a Christian Scientist in their whole life and they've never gone to a doctor. My dad was one of those who'd get up and say that all the time, as if that is supposed to okay, are you telling me if you don't go to a doctor, you'll be fine, but but you're not. So I never questioned it. I never thought the Christian Science movement got off from Mrs. Eddy's teachings. I thought if you questioned the religion in the church, then you were questioning Mrs. Eddy's teachings, that you were questioning what she wrote. But that was a huge mistake, a huge oversight on my part. And I think many of us are there, where we've just not questioned it and not questioned, this echo chamber that we live in and have lived in. Christian Science is a total redemption from a massive, massive mistake that the human race made together. Complete redemption of that. And we've been telling people, or people, oh, they're the people that don't go to doctors. They're the people that don't take medicine. And we have only ourselves to blame for that, because when you get down to it, that's what we think it's all about. You're supposed to have a real Christian Science healing. Why aren't you getting any help? Because I want to be healed by Christian Science. That was my dad. I want a Christian Science healing. And I'm not going to have any other healing. I'm just not. So that's how we lose all our family members and friends. That's how I lost my dad. That's how we lost other people and my family and other friends. And those should be wake-up calls. Those should be wake-up calls. It is such a sad thing that we think that healing physical illness is what it takes to be a real Christian Zionist, and what it's all about. It's so sad that we've gotten there. Luckily, the rest of the world is waking up, and they're finding the truth that we've had all along, but we didn't know what we had. So it's fortunate if you see, or the rest of the world is waking up in different ways. But that's what mortal mind does. It is so scared of losing its own identity and its life that it's fighting for its life, and it keeps us busy. It keeps us busy, which is, plenty of opportunity. Ample. The warfare with oneself is grand. I mean, Christians must take up arms against error at home and abroad. They must grapple with sin in themselves and in others, and continue this warfare until they have finished their course. Be of good cheer. The warfare with oneself is grand. It gives one plenty of employment. And the divine principle worketh with you. And obedience crowns persistent effort with everlasting victory. The warfare with oneself is grand, and with the mortal sense of self. And it's you. Don't think it's out there. Mortal mind is not out there. It is your own belief that you are the mortal being. Page 118, Science and Health, line 21, it starts: self-ignorance, self-will, self-righteousness, lust, covetousness, envy, revenge are foes to grace, peace, and progress. They must be met manfully and overcome, or they will uproot all happiness. Be of good cheer. The warfare with oneself is grand. It gives one plenty of employment, and the divine principle worketh with you. And obedience crowns persistent effort with everlasting victory. So good luck on your self-examination with your warfare with yourself, because that's what it's all about.